Welcome to the Good evening. Welcome to the Somerville Redevelopment Authority meeting of January 17th, 2024. My name is Phil Ercolini. I'm chair of the Somerville Redevelopment Authority, and I call this meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this public meeting of the SRA is being conducted via remote participation. This session will be recorded and will be a public record. Now, I will now ask the board members to confirm they are in attendance in alphabetical order. Awana Bonney.
Here.
Ben Ewan Campen.
Here.
William Gage.
Here.
Patrick McCormick will not be joining us this evening. Christine Stone.
Here.
Phil Ercolini is in attendance, so we do have a quorum. I'll now ask city staff to present a few of the house rules about using the technology.
Yep.
Ben?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Demers, and I'm an economic development planner with the city, and I serve as staff to the Somerville Redevelopment Authority, or the SRA. When an agenda item is being presented this evening, any presentation materials that staff have received ahead of time will be displayed on the screen. If city staff or other participants wish to direct the board's attention to a specific page, they should verbally note what page staff should show on the screen, and should then verbally explain to the board what is being shown. Please also note that this meeting is being conducted remotely using Zoom webinar. In order to comply with open meeting law under state guidance, which does not allow for side conversation, the chat function amongst attendees has been disabled. If you as an attendee have a question or would like to make a comment on the matters discussed tonight, please use the raise hand function to indicate that you would like to speak. I will unmute participants one by one and give you 2 minutes to speak. And when it's your turn, please clearly state your name and address before saying anything else. After 2 minutes, your microphone will be muted. Please remember that any questions asked by attendees this evening will also be a part of the open record. And I'll now pass things to the SRA Special Counsel, Catherine Lester-Selkert.
Hello, my name is Catherine Lester-Selkert, and I am Special Counsel to the SRA. I want to remind all board members that all votes must be roll call votes with a motion and a second. The chair will call on each board member for a yes/no vote in alphabetical order. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So we'll get right to it. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the December 20th general meeting minutes. Have all members had an opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, if not, please let us know. I see that no. Okay, I don't see any discussion to ensue, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the December 20th general meeting minutes. Is there a
We'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Awana Bonney makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bill Gage seconds. We'll do a roll call vote. Awana Bonney.
Yes.
Ben Ewan Campen.
Yes.
William Gage.
Yes.
Patrick McCormick is not here this evening. Christine Stone.
Yeah.
And Phil Ercolini, yes. So the meeting minutes have been approved. The next item on the agenda is a public comment period. So I'll defer to Ben. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board?
I don't see any hands at this moment, but we do have 2 public attendees.
Okay.
So if we want to just give a moment to see if anyone does raise their hand.
Sure.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands.
All right. Thank you, Ben. The next item on the agenda, item number 3, is 90 Washington Street Demonstration Project Plan Implementation Update. And an update from the 90 Washington Street Civic Advisory Committee. Ted, is that you?
I'll take that, Mr. Chair. Thank you. A while back, I briefed the authority on the proceedings of the 90 Washington Street Civic Advisory Committee that was convened at the start of last year to formally incorporate citizen feedback into ongoing planning for 90 Washington Street. As you may remember, we conducted, the city's planning team conducted a year's worth of public outreach and listening during 2022, which we wrapped up in the fall. And then we convened the Civic Advisory Committee in January to keep the discussion ongoing. And around that same time in February, we started the 90 Washington request for qualifications to develop a pool of possible proposers for developer selection RFP in the future. We released that in February, and we received 3 eligible qualified responses in April when we closed the process. The 3 qualified responding firms were Greystar LLC, Penrose LLC, and Onyx Development Group, which is a partnership of Onyx Development with Galante Architects and Maven Construction. So this past spring and summer, the advisory committee reviewed all submittal materials from these 3 firms to assess their responses. And they were assisted in this by our real estate consultants, HR&A advisors. They followed up their review with a series of interviews of all 3 firms. And I've added in the memo you have before you tonight a quick summary of the questions asked to each of those firms and their the firm's responses. So all 3 firms were asked about taking advantage of 90 Washington Street position near the new East Somerville GLX MBTA station, and the possibilities for developing a lively, interesting transit oriented project there. The firms were also asked about developing commercial and especially retail uses on the site, which is a very important criteria and need for the surrounding community. And all 3 were also asked about how they would comply with the city's new stretch development code and energy code, and whether this would present any challenges to redevelopment of the site. Excuse me. In addition, Greystar was specifically asked to elaborate on lessons learned from their nearby projects that they're undertaking in Assembly Square and in Everett, and how they could apply those lessons to the 90 Washington Street site. So just very quickly, Greystar responded that most of the mixed-use projects focus on transit proximity and have relatively low parking ratios. They like to locate their mixed-use projects near to transit to keep the parking load low. And Greystar is a very large firm. They're active across the country in major urban metropolitan areas. They believe 90 Washington's location makes it very attractive for mixed-use redevelopment. And in particular, they view retail space in a mixed-use project to be an amenity for engaging the community. At 90 Washington Street, they'll focus on food service tenants, and they'll keep commercial rents relatively affordable to attract local entrepreneurs where possible. In terms of their experience in nearby in Assembly Row, the firm is building is involved in a lab construction. And then in Everett, they are building nearly 2,000 apartments in a former industrial district near the Encore Casino. As I said, the 74 Middlesex Avenue building they are constructing is a LEED Platinum building on the edge of Assembly Square. Finally, Greystar doesn't believe the stretch energy code will be an impediment to redeveloping the site. They're very familiar with mechanical and passive sustainability solutions to comply with the code, and they'll use either or both in redeveloping 90 Washington Street. Very quickly, in terms of Onyx Development Group, once again, they were asked about how they would capitalize on the site's proximity to the new T station. They were asked how they would incorporate retail into their redevelopment. They were selected. They were also asked about sustainability and the stretch code. But they were also in particular asked about their experience with working with public entities and developing public safety buildings, as well as their desire to incorporate specific development features that would enhance bike travel and transit usage to and from 90 Washington Street. And very quickly, Onyx noted that they prefer locations close to transit because they're popular with tenants and they are easy to finance. They would like to improve the pedestrian experience along Washington Street by leasing space to local businesses and hosting a small business center. They also have a very good relationship with East Somerville Main Streets. They're currently building a mixed-use project in Foxborough and helping on another larger mixed-use project in Roxbury. And they were recently awarded a historic state property in Fall River to redevelop as a mixed-use project. Galente Architects, one of the partners in the group, is very experienced in designing public safety structures, particularly fire stations, and they're comfortable with integrating public safety uses and functions into mixed-use buildings and projects. And they also don't believe that compliance with Somerville's new stretch code regulations will be a barrier to redeveloping 90 Washington Street. And they particularly note there's plenty of space for geothermal and photovoltaic systems. And they're very interested in improving signage and wayfinding uses to make it as easy as possible to access 90 Washington Street from the new Green Line Extension Station in East Somerville. And then the last developer interviewed was Penrose Development. They were asked the same questions. And they were also asked specifically about their experience with geothermal energy. And in summary, Penrose noted that they want to pursue mixed-use development at 90 Washington with a strong component of affordable housing. And the site's proximity to transit will allow less parking to be provided and more space to be used for amenities. Penrose develops mixed-use projects with retail space for local small businesses that serve as an amenity for their residents. In their projects, they believe that retail property market is trending towards smaller local enterprises. Their design team is expert with stretch code compliance, passive house building standards, and incorporating geothermal energy systems into residential and mixed-use construction. So after these interviews, the advisory committee convened in September and recommends that all three firms be allowed to prepare development proposals for a follow-up request for proposals process to select a 90 Washington Street development partner for the city. Since that time, the committee has been examining potential eligibility criteria to incorporate into a request for proposals document that we hope to release in this year, 2024, to select one or more development partners for the city. And more details about the advisory committee's ongoing process can be found at the 90 Washington Street Somerville site. I attach a link in the memo where we post video transcriptions of the meetings as well as meeting notes. So I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Okay, Ted, thank you. And do any of the members have any questions of Ted on this advisory? Christine?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Ted, interested to understand how Onyx has a relationship with East Somerville Main Streets.
I believe they said they've had an ongoing relationship with them for a number of years. I believe they have worked with them on one or more projects, but I can get more details for you. I don't have full details.
Yeah, that would just be nice to know, because if they've done projects in East Somerville, to know what they are, and also to be able to reach out to that group,
Mhm.
you know, during the RFP process.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any other members have questions? Ben, you and Kim?
Thank you. Through you, thank you very much, Ted. That was a great presentation and memo. Sorry if I missed it. When should we expect the full development proposals?
We don't have a strict time frame yet for releasing a request for proposals. We're developing the criteria, and we're a little bit on hold with the legal situation of the site until that we have some clarity on that. We're just really working on developing the best RFP document we can, and then we'll green light that when we have more clarity.
Okay, thanks.
Ted, I just a couple of questions.
Sure.
One, in your opinion, your professional opinion, how important is it that a developer have experience in building public safety buildings, as opposed to the conventional stuff that we're seeing out there?
Sure. I think it is certainly it's not a drawback. I think it's helpful. But I don't think it's a deal breaker. For example, we have experience with Biomed Realty in Assembly Square building a fire station within their lab and office structure at 5 Middlesex in the heart of the district. They're using our specifications, and they're working with our capital projects division and our fire department to do that. And that is going well, as far as I can determine from talking with city staff and the development staff of the firm. So with a good construction team and a good set of designers and project managers, I think any of these, larger developers like Penrose or Greystar can build public safety buildings and or uses per the city specifications.
So Ted, what you say, some of them have already built public safety buildings? And if so,
well, I just gave an example of one of our developers, Biomed Realty. They don't have a lot of experience building public safety buildings, but they're building a fire station within their lab building at 5 Middlesex in Assembly Square. So that's an example of a larger developer being able to, without specialized experience, being able to develop a public safety function for us by working with the fire department and the capital projects division to make sure that's done correctly.
Rachel, you have clarification on that?
Yeah, so just to add to what Ted's been saying, one of the questions that we asked in the request for qualifications was about the different ways in which the public safety features could be built. Would you be interested in building for us jointly with us in one building on totally separate lots? And I believe, Ted, please correct me if I'm getting this wrong, that all of them said, in general, doing the public safety building, the police component of that separately probably does make sense.
Right.
Just because of construction costs and logistics. But that the fire station component being incorporated might be more possible. So we were looking for that feedback from all of the teams to understand how they might approach it and if they had that experience. So we got some better understanding of, what the realm of options would look like to bring back to you all.
And my other question is relative to partnership. So the Greystars and LLC has its Penrose, and Onyx has, as part of their ownership component, has Galenti Architects and Maven Construction. So Greystar and or Penrose, if they were to be fortunate enough to be awarded the project, they would be seeking bids from architects and development contractors.
That is my understanding. They do have some in-house staffing capacity for that. But I can get more information about that from each of the firms. But that is my understanding, that they will subcontract where required to get the expertise they need.
And I guess lastly, this question just eluded me. Well, maybe it'll come back to me. Oh, yes, now I know. So, so the committee is recommending the three firms to go forward.
Correct.
Ultimately, who makes the final decision relative to the contractor or the developer?
That is the Redevelopment Authority.
And so the civic committee will give us their recommendations along with the city staff. Is the city staff going to be party to recommending to us?
We are going to be advising and helping the advisory committee at this point with the recommendations. I don't believe, maybe Rachel can clarify this, I don't believe that we are going to issue a separate recommendation unless we are asked to.
Okay, and I guess just a subsequent question to that is, will whoever gets chosen, will the SRA have an opportunity to review or to visit some of the projects that
Sure.
the chosen developer will? It's pretty standard that we would do that, but I just wanted to make sure that's part of our process.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any further questions from members?
Mr. Chair.
Seeing none,
No,
then.
Christine has a question
Oh,
and
I'm
Rachel
sorry,
has,
Christine, I didn't see.
Rachel
you.
had
Go
a
ahead.
clarification, I think.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to have
Christine.
Rachel go first and clarify.
Okay,
Sure. So just in terms of process steps, the recommendation, the way we set this up is that the step one is the RFQ. The RFQ is to determine qualified participants for the RFP process. Then going forward from there, if you all accepted all three to move forward, we would issue the RFP to all three of them, and then you all would have a chance to review. You all would also be reviewing the RFP document before it goes out. So there are multiple steps at which the SRA is going to be reviewing to move forward. If there are specific procedural steps that you'd like in there, for anyone, Chair Fellini, especially that idea of doing those visits, we can start working that into the documents sooner than later.
okay, well, I'd leave that up to members. I mean, if you felt, you all feel it worthwhile that we go out and visit these projects to see what they've done. But we can talk about that later. Christine, did you want to follow up?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Rachel, because that was one of my questions. Would we the board, SRA board, have an opportunity to read the RFP document before it goes out, and I
Yes.
heard yes, it does, because I think it would be helpful to help to weigh in on framing the questions we want asked of these parties. You know, before we're reviewing their proposals. So that's great. But my other question is this, and maybe this is part of the process, and I don't know if anybody on this call knows this, but I would think that having the final program from the city with respect to the public safety building would be helpful for these parties to respond to. And wondering if that final programming document or those ideas has been completed. So that these three developers would know, are we building a 40,000 square foot building, a 50,000 square foot building, a 5,000 square foot building?
Right. We have a draft program and preliminary design from the Public Safety Building Committee. The last I checked with capital projects, that has not been changed or altered significantly in the past year. Rachel, I don't know if you've heard anything different, but that's my last update that I've received from them.
Okay. So presumably that draft document would be part of the RFP. Okay.
Yes.
And then these three respondents would be able to react to, okay, this is what we need to do from the city, with
Right.
respect to the other question I have, and I was just reviewing the RFQ document, and I guess I had forgotten this, is in the RFQ, there is this idea that the new Washington Street would be realigned through the site to create, a bifurcated site, east and west of New Washington Street. How certain is that, street movement? Is that something that has to happen, or is that something that is a nice to have? And if a developer can come up with a project that, does not bifurcate the site, but instead, uses a consolidated site and the road remains where it is, that would be reviewed and considered. I guess that's
the realigning New Washington Street to a new Washington Street, for want of a better term, is a possibility. It's not set in stone. It's not a given. The Mobility and Capital Projects divisions are re-examining that at our request due to questions from the advisory committee about alternatives to that one particular realignment that was shown in the RFQ documents. The reason why city staff about 3 years ago considered realigning New Washington Street was to provide a 90-degree intersection for emergency vehicles to enter into and come in from Washington Street, and also to align it with Franklin Street, just to provide a safer way to introduce emergency vehicles into the traffic stream there. But they are looking at alternatives to avoid such a large splitting of the site, if possible.
Okay.
Yeah, Rachel?
Yeah, if I could add, the other piece that's being factored here with this is that this public safety, particularly for the fire component, when they enter and exit, they need to enter and exit with a signal. And so doing so, and that signal really is about reducing the number of sirens necessary, right? Because if they can get the green wave, we have responsive signaling that reduces the need to have any sort of siren going off to help them exit and do that response. And so part of the thinking around that is related to managing sound for the neighbors. So there's this balancing act that is being considered between the mobility team, the capital projects, and the needs of the fire facility, and then of course our needs as well.
Right.
Thank you, Rachel. Any further questions, staff?
No.
Okay, seeing none, then the next item on the agenda is 3B, which is a request to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation with about 90 Washington Street. So is there a motion to go into leave open session and go into executive session for that purpose? There a motion?
Make a motion.
Awana Bonnie makes a motion to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second,
Dean Stone seconds, a roll call vote. Awana Bonnie,
Yes.
Benjamin Campen,
Yes.
William Gage.
Yes.
The comic is not here this evening. Christine Stone,
yes.
Bill Ercolini vote yes, so we will go into executive session, and at conclusion of executive session, we'll reopen an open session and continue with the agenda. So, okay, we'll see you all in a few minutes, so hopefully.
Thank you, board.
Okay. Oh, boy, oh, boy, boy, boy. I'll get out of here now. Okay, is everybody okay? Okay, anybody who's here. So the next item on the agenda is item number 4, which is SRA recruitment update.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, I had a meeting scheduled for today with our communications department about doing outreach for this that had to get bumped, so I don't actually have an update for this, but I will most likely follow up over email. Our goal is still to post the vacant SRA position by the beginning of February, so then we can have it open for the month of February. So I will definitely have an update by the February meeting, but I'll probably follow up earlier just to ask for any SRA help in disseminating the call.
Okay, all right, thank you, Ben. The next item on the agenda is any items not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have nothing and no one else has anything. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. And I'll then make a motion, I'll entertain a motion, I'd rather to adjourn the meeting. So is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Ben Ewan Kempen makes a motion to adjourn. Christine Stone seconds. We'll do a roll call vote. Awana Bonney, Ben Ewan Kempen,
Yes.
William Gage is not here. Patrick
Yes.
McCormick is not here. Christine Stone
Yes.
and Phil Ercolini have voted to adjourn. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you in
Thank you.
February.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.